Hi everyone, so this is a short tutorial on how to build a major scale. Now this will come in very handy when you want to work out what a scale is, when you want to work out what the sharps or the flats are that are in a scale, if you want to work out what scale a piece of music is using, and even if you want to improvise, you can work out a scale to go over the top. So the major scale is one of the first scales that you learn how to play whenever you learn an instrument, and this is how you actually work out how the major scale is built. Now there's a few things you need to know first before we start, and that is you need to know how to read notes. So if you want to practice reading notes or you need some help reading notes, there's a really good website to go to called musictheory.net. So I'd encourage you to go to musictheory.net, have a look at the different exercises that are on there. There's a separate tutorial that I have on using musictheory.net to improve your note reading skills. And also what you need to know is a fairly basic understanding of what intervals are. So in relation to what we're going to talk today about, that's tones and semitones. So they're the intervals that we will be talking about. Again, you can go to musictheory.net and find out what they are if you don't know. And those are the things that you need to know first before having a look at this particular tutorial. Alright, so moving on, we're going to start with the C major scale. Now the reason why we start with the C major scale is because this scale has no sharps or flats. So if you have a look in this area here, you'll see that there's nothing, there's no sharps or flats. So what C major does is it uses all the white notes on the keyboard, so it doesn't use any of the black notes at all. So it makes it really easy for us to tell what those intervals are when we're actually looking at those intervals. So the first note is C, this is C. And the C major scale actually sounds like this. You'll recognize it as do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, okay? Now the great thing about all major scales is that they all sound the same. They all have that very similar sounding do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So it doesn't matter what key you're in, they all sound the same. And the reason why they sound the same is because the intervals that are used are exactly the same. So let's just put our C major scale up. So here's the first note C, next note is D, E, F, G, and you notice I'm not using any sharps or flats, A, B, and then we're going to go all the way to C, okay? So we're going to go a whole octave. We're spanning an octave from C to C. All right, so here we go. Let's have a look at these different intervals. Here's the notes. Okay, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And here we're going to start the interval. So if you look at the interval between C and D, we have a tone, okay? And between D and E, we have another tone. Now between E and F, if you have a look at the keyboard, you'll see that there is no black note in between. So there's no other notes in between, so it's the shortest space between two notes. That's called a semitone. Alright, now if we look at this, we have tone, tone, semitone. Okay, that's what we have to start off the major scale. Now we're getting to the middle of the scale. Okay, so the middle two notes, there's actually a tone in between. Alright, so moving on, we also have a tone between G and A and another tone between A and B. And then we get to B and C, and you'll see there's no black note between B and C, so that's a semitone there. Now, the really interesting thing to note about what we've got here is that we have a pattern emerging. We have tone, tone, semitone, and then you can see in the middle of the scale, there's a tone that separates the two halves of the scale, if you want, and then the second half of the scale, tone, tone, semitone. So we actually have a repeated pattern there. Tone, tone, semitone, tone in the middle, and then tone, tone, semitone above that. So all major scales have this pattern. So whatever note that you use to start off with, it doesn't matter what note it is, if you want to build a major scale on top of that, you just use this interval pattern and you'll come out with that major scale. Okay, tone, tone, semitone, tone in the middle, tone, tone, semitone. And that's it. That's basically how you build a major scale. Alright, so what next? What do we do next? what I suggest you do next is to have a go yourself at using those intervals and try building another major scale starting on another note. Okay, so just pick another note. You can randomly pick another note and just try using those intervals, and you'll actually come up with a major scale for that particular note. And you'll have it. All right, it's that simple. All right, guys, thanks very much for listening, and good luck with having a go at this exercise.